Practice makes perfect. Unless it doesn't. I've been on both sides of this, right? How do I get better at art? Well, practice. Okay. When we're told to practice, it's often without the instruction of how to practice in a useful way. And so you might automatically do the same thing over and over and over instead. You know, you think, oh, okay, practice, so it's just a matter of habit, which is a different thing, and I'll get into that later. One example of doing the same thing over and over again, not changing anything about it. If you want to get better at human anatomy, one way to do that is you get books on anatomy, you look at people, you draw what you see. That's mostly how I learned, right? But some people just draw the same figure without reference every day. Or you're using the same reference from a style that you're aiming to replicate, you know, like an anime or whatever. And there's a phrase that comes to mind, right? Practice makes permanent. Of course, practice makes perfect is a little fuzzy anyway, right? When we're talking about art especially, we're aiming for what we each personally want to achieve. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, yet not getting your desired results, that's what I'd like to help you with. We're going to look at ways to practice with goals in mind. You don't want to keep doing the same thing without learning. That's what I was getting at before. Until you have to lie and say the wonky anatomy is your style choice or whatever, you don't want to do that. You can work on style later. By all means, you can eventually emulate that style, you can find your own style, you can absolutely do that. I'm saying get the basics down. And then that makes stylizing easier and more intuitive. You understand a little bit more what is being exaggerated, what is being changed, and why. So, instead of practice being repeating the same exact thing multiple times, think of practice in two different ways. One could be as a habit, which I think is what the initial advice is actually going for. Draw for half an hour each day. Carry a sketchbook everywhere to doodle in. Something like that to make a habit. But the other half of practice is the way the word is used for doctors. If you practice, it means doing it and researching to be better at your skills while doing it. So in total, practice in general is about the application of what you already know and adding to that knowledge bank. Finding where you need to learn more things and then learning those things. So let's look at circles. Round, okay. I'm not asking you to freehand a perfect circle. What I'm asking is to look at how your hand and wrist moves when you draw one, and what happens when you adjust the way you hold your pen, or you stiffen your wrist, and so on. We can also look at different ways to achieve a circle. That's the thing. I don't. There are so many tools at my disposal that I just don't personally use, and that I could say is a style. Maybe it's a series of mistakes. I don't know. But my biggest piece of advice is to concentrate on one thing you want to improve at a time. Do your warm-ups, carry a sketchbook, do all the other practice stuff, absolutely. But have a clear goal in mind when you're sitting down to get better. As an example, we'll look at what I'm currently desperately trying to get better at drawing. The human ear. Dog ears, I get. Cat ears, easy. Human ears? What are all these parts? I hate it. So I'm practicing, I'm learning, so that I dislike it less and it will be easier to do later on. Get it? So tell me in the comments, what is something you want to work on? Tell me what you're having trouble with, and maybe we can figure out together what can make things easier for you. Practice, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be tailored for each person. That's all I'm saying here. Practice in a way that is useful to what your goals are. And rock on.